If you want to write a book and become a best-selling author, you're in the right place. At Elite Online Publishing, we can help you create, publish, and market your book so that it becomes a #1 bestseller. We work with a limited number of authors to ensure that they receive the best possible service. So if you want to learn how to write and publish a book that will empower you to smartly grow your brand, business, and credibility, apply today. We look forward to working with you.
Hey everyone, it's Jen Foster here with Elite Publishing Podcast, and we're here today to talk about books, all about books and publishing. So we have an author today who has written 8 books, actually 13 in total with his wife, and it's all about voice and how you can speak and sing and do it all properly. So we're really excited to talk to Jeremy Fisher today. He has over 20 years experience in singing and in voice coaching. So welcome, Jeremy. Well, tell us a little bit how you got into voice coaching, and then we'll dive into your books and what they're all about.
Voice coaching, I started working with singers while I was at college, actually, while I was at music college, because I went as a piano player. And I started working with singers. I actually really enjoyed working with other people. I was never one of those piano players that was going to sit in a room by myself for 8 hours and practice. It was not going to happen. So I love working with other people, and I found I was really good at coaching people and understanding what they were doing, what they wanted, how to do the steps to get them to where they wanted. So I started working with singers a lot, and then I started singing myself because I thought, I have to do it. I have to try it out. You know, I have to experience it in order to be a really good coach. So yeah, that.
And then when did you first decide, I'm going to write a book about this, or I'm going to be an author?
The whole writing thing was so weird. I was not a good writer to start with. I actually was commissioned by somebody to write 300 articles.
Okay.
And this was for an opera website, and they wanted me to take an opera aria or a song, and analyze it for technique, and then write about the technique. And these articles I was writing something like one a day for a long time, and they were just going up on the website. And that's really where I learned my craft, which is how can I make what I want to say as succinct as possible? How can I get it really neat? How can I tidy it up? How can I make it readable? So that was really I think I was doing that before I wrote the first book. My wife had written a book for the first time. It was her first book. And then they asked her for a follow-up. Hers is called Singing and the Actor. And they wanted a follow-up book. And I said, oh, you have to write one with me, because they wanted one on singing auditions. Mm-hmm. And that was my area of expertise. And I went, okay, we have to write this together. And so we wrote it together. It was a commission. And we wrote it together. And the whole business of writing with your wife is fascinating because we are very different personalities. Mm-hmm. And we also work in a very different way. And it's hilarious because it's taken us about 20 years to actually get the working together right. So I'm very much, oh, this is really exciting. Let's discuss it. And I'm going to write this, and then we can share it. And then I come backwards and forwards. And she's very much, I'm going to write this and I'm going to craft it beautifully, and you're not going to see it until I've finished. And it was so funny writing together because we write in such a different way. So that was the first book, which was called Successful Singing Auditions, and that was 2002. And then we wrote a series together for 8-year-olds, I think it was 5 to 9-year-olds. For singing in the classroom. We wrote a whole series there. And then we had a big commission from the Wellcome Foundation, which is the second largest charity in the world. And they specifically do science, and they were putting up they had an exhibition going. And they said, we want you to write part of the book for this exhibition. And I went, great. Okay, what would you like? And they said, we want a book on voice techniques, and we want you to write the classical side of it. And we both went, okay, yeah, that's fine. You know, we do a lot more than that, but that's fine. We'll do the classical stuff. And I went down for the meeting to actually sort all the details out. And then I found out what the whole book was going to be about. And I went, oh, can we write all of it? You don't need other authors. We'll just do the whole lot. And the book was on, the book is called This Is a Voice. And it was on singing, classical, contemporary, commercial, jazz, pop, R&B, blues, musical theatre, speaking voice, presentation, things like wedding speeches, ventriloquism, mimicry, and beatboxing. And I went, I love that combination. I know nothing. Yeah, I know nothing about beatboxing, but let's do it anyway. And so that was 8 months of really frantic research, interviewing people, writing chapters. We ended up writing, I think it was 160 exercises, and it ended up, they cut it down and we got to, I think it's 99 exercises in the book. It's an amazing book. So, and we had some really great visuals created for it. And that book has been in the top 100 Amazon voice books constantly since 2016.
Oh, that's great.
Which is just thrilling.
Yeah.
So that was like book number 7. So all of those were commissions by other authors, but the next one was one that I wrote myself and published myself.
Okay.
So it was,
you chose to do self-publishing.
We did.
Okay.
It was it was an interesting decision because I think we'd had 3 publishers at that point, and it was a fascinating journey having people do the commissioning, having people do the illustrations, having people do all the permissions, and obviously marketing it themselves. And that was really good. And there came a point where we want a bit more control. So actually, we also want a larger cut of the fee. Thank you.
Right. We'll keep all
So we decided, we set up I'll have a few more royalties. So we set up our own publishing company, which is called, it's pronounced, it's spelt C-A-N-U, Welsh word, and it's pronounced canny. And I love the idea that the word canny also means intelligent and clever. So canny, the Welsh word canny means to utter. So it's to speak, to sing, to orate, to make speeches. And I just loved that combination of the word and the meaning. So Canny Publishing, my first publication was a book called How to Sing Legato. Now, for those of you who are not singers, legato means basically smooth singing. So very connected singing, making sure that the sounds that you make all connect. And it's like a holy grail in classical singing. And there's such rubbish talked about legato. And as I was a teacher of classical singing, I was right in the center of the rubbish that was being taught. And I'm going, it's so much more straightforward than this. It's really simple. And so I wrote a book on how simple it was.
Yeah,
and that was the first time that I'd done, if you're going to write a book, make it more straightforward. Don't complicate things.
Right. Well, and it sounds like a great
And it was
book.
the first time.
I know how to do legato on the piano, but not singing. I've never been able to have very smooth voice.
Yeah. So that was fun doing that. And of course, that was my own timetable as well. I'm sad to say that it took over 2 years for me to get from starting to write it to publishing it.
Yeah.
And the next one was faster. And it was like, I need to learn how to do this. So the next one was how to accompany your singing students, even if you're terrible at the piano. That was it's another how-to book for the singing teachers. And then the one after that, and this was, again, I changed tack a bit. I changed style. I wrote one called, Why Do I Need a Vocal Coach? And it was a collection of the blogs that I'd been writing for the last 4 or 5 years. And it was one day I was looking at all of these blogs and I found an old web page with 50 of my blogs on them. And I thought, actually, these are quite good. I must be able to do something more with them. And I thought, maybe I can put them together in a book. And so I changed them a little bit, put them together, put them in sequences, put them under chapter headings, but a lot of the text was already written. And so it was a really easy book to write.
I love that.
Found
idea.
some amazing photographs.
Yeah. That repurposing your content, taking what you already have and repurposing it into a book. You too.
100%.
Yeah. So you
I
found,
mean, it's like use what you got.
yes. And you were saying you found photographs as well.
Yeah, I decided I was going to do comedy photographs. So I found, and it all came from one photograph. I was doing a search on one of the big photo sites, and it all came from one photograph, which was a hilarious photograph from the 1930s. So it was all black and white. And it was a singing teacher teaching a singer, and it just looked so ridiculous. And I went, love that, love the style, love the feel of it, fits what I'm talking about. And I went and found a whole series that matched them. So all of the photographs are original 1930s and 40s photographs of singing lessons, of people having dance lessons, of just some insane costumes. So it really gave the look of the book and the feel of it. So that was fun.
That is fun. And to be able to control it yourself is a big thing. We do marketing and do book marketing for authors who are working with traditional publishers, and there's so many handcuffs and things that we can't do because of the contract. When you have control yourself, it's like you're free. You could choose what photographs you want. You can choose, all the different things you want in the book. But yeah, taking the time to get it done and knowing how to do it is another thing. So I'm glad that you figured that out to get it self-published, because it really is nice having that freedom.
Well, and also shout out to my brother, who is a professional editor.
Oh, there you go.
So I ran it by him, and he
Yeah.
edited it all for me, because he was going, do you really mean this? Do you really mean to say that there? Why don't you put this here? Why have you said that there? So in the nicest possible way.
Yes. Well, and having a professional editor is key, because you got to have multiple eyes look at it. You can't say, oh, I edited it myself, because you'll miss things, because it's just what it is. We call it,
You will.
we call the editing weeds. It's like, there's weeds, you think you got them all, and then there's another one that popped up. So that's what happens. Yeah.
Absolutely. Editing is so important.
Yes. Well, tell us, how did you go about marketing your book? What did you do to market?
This is a really interesting one. I have a database of people who are interested in what I do, so I sent it out to them first. So they always get first refusal, and I heartily recommend getting an email list, because email is the best. Mainly because, and it took me a long time to work this out, and it's an odd one because it's so obvious. When you are selling your book through something like Amazon, Amazon doesn't give you the contact details of the people that have bought your book. So how do you get them? How do you get to those people? Because those people are going to love what you do, and they're going to, they're going to want to know more about it, but you can't contact them. So it was one of the big reasons why we shifted to self-publishing, was that we wanted to be able to contact the people who were interested in our books.
Yeah.
So heartily
So
recommend
did
an
you
email
put-
list.
Yes, building your launch team, already having a list when you start is great, but building a launch team and having more people that buy your book go and join your list. Do you have a call to action in the front of your book, or how do they know where to go when they're reading the book?
We actually have put I mean, you could probably advise me better on this one. I normally put the call to action at the end, right at the end of the book, which is go here, download this here, or, email us or let us know who you are, and all of that. And I think it's really useful. Oh, by the way, the other thing that I did was that I sent out, and this was particularly for the Why Do I Need a Vocal Coach book, I sent out the manuscript, a relatively early version of the manuscript, to readers.
Beta readers.
And I actually asked for volunteers. Yeah, so useful.
Yes.
Again, heartily recommend letting people read it beforehand.
Yeah. Having beta readers and getting feedback in the beginning, kind of like after you've done your final round of edits, but then you might do a little more editing because you might get feedback from your beta readers where you want to change a couple things. And that's why you want to choose the right people for your beta readers, right? For sure.
Absolutely.
And going back
And
to
actually,
the call
if
to
you find
action-
you have a good reader,
Go ahead.
if you find you have a good reader, make a note of their name, because they can read your next one as well. And what you end up with is a really great list of people who can give you really good advice at different points in the book.
That's key. Keeping your list and having your network of people that you're going to go to for your next book. I like that. Which is why the email list is so important, because when you have your next thing, maybe it's a book, maybe it's a course, maybe you're speaking or an event, but you got to have that list so you can send it to them. But yeah, I was going to go back to the call to action. I love that you put it at the end of the book. That is a great place to put it, and that's where most people put it. But there's something on Amazon, used to be called Look Inside the Book. Now it's called Read a Sample, because they keep changing everything. But instead of looking inside the book, it's reading a sample, and then you get to get the sample. But if they usually do, I can't remember the percentage, it's like 20 or 30% or something of the book. Maybe it's not that much. But they show the sample as, the first chapter or the introduction, usually, depending on how long your book is. And so what we advise people to do is put your call to action in before the table of contents. Because if you put it before the table of contents, then maybe they sign up for your list before they even read your book because they were just reading the sample. So that's what we advise. And back in the day, they used to have where you can click. So you'd be looking at the look inside the book and you can actually click and go to the website. But now there's no clickable links unless you bought in the book and you're in your Kindle, then it will be clickable. So even if the person hasn't bought in the book, they'll see it and they read the sample. But if they have bought in the book, they can click the QR code or click the website name that you have there, and it will go open a new tab in there if they're on their phone or if they're on their tablet. So it's really easy for them to sign up. And that's what you want, is the easeability of it. So I know a lot of authors that would put it in the beginning and the end. And you might think that's redundant, but just remember how many times you have to tell people instructions for them to actually do it, right? So having it twice is fine. There's an occasional book you'll see out there. Well, at the end of every chapter, there's a QR code.
That is so good.
Right. You have to go and watch their video after every chapter, which is fine. That's another way to do it, is just really having them go here, go here. They do it 15 times instead of 2. Right.
I love that, Jen. I love the idea of putting it in the look inside section. And this is a question because I've never used them in a book, but you're talking about QR codes, and I'm wondering whether if you used a QR code before the contents page, whether people even, obviously you can't click a link, but they can photograph a QR code.
Right. So that's what
just from their screen.
We advise our authors to do.
That's
QR
clever.
code, because if they're looking inside the book, they could scan it. But also, if they buy the physical book, they can also scan it. Now, inside of the ebook, if they're reading it on their Kindle, or if they're downloaded it, if you have an ebook and you're distributing it through notebooks or whatever other kind of reader they're reading it on, usually QR codes, if you make it clickable, you have to do it in the PDF. You have to make the QR code clickable. Then they can click it and it will go. And same with the URL that's underneath. You can click and we'll just go. But you have to just make it a hyperlink if you know what that is. But yeah. It works out well.
Neat. Love that.
Yeah. Well, tell us.
That's in my next book.
Tell us any tips you'd give authors to help them with publishing or writing their book.
In a way, they're very straightforward, the tips. I am a fairly straightforward person. Who are you aiming at? So, and that's a decision that you make very early on, but it's actually a decision that carries all the way through, not just the writing process, but the publishing process as well.
And marketing.
So who are you aiming at? Yeah, and the marketing as well, absolutely. So who are you aiming at? Why would they want to read your book? What is it that it does for them? What are they going to get out of it? So yeah, all of the above.
Awesome. I love that. Where can people go to find your books and to get more information about your voice coaching services?
You can find almost everything I do on the website, which is vocalprocess.co.uk, and that's .co.uk.
Great. We'll put that link up in the show notes. Thank you so much for being here. And if you are looking to write or publish a book, you could contact us at eliteonlinepublishing.com. Thanks, Jeremy.
Such a pleasure. Thank you.
Bye.
If you want to write a book and become a best-selling author, you're in the right place. At Elite Online Publishing, we can help you create, publish, and market your book so that it becomes a #1 bestseller. We work with a limited number of authors to ensure that they receive the best possible service. So if you want to learn how to write and publish a book that will empower you to smartly grow your brand, business, and credibility, apply today. We look forward to working with you.